Let's get a quick take on Bill Cosby, who will be performing at the Buell Theatre on Saturday. Protesters are expected to hold a rally outside the venue to voice their concerns over recent sexual assault allegations. Meanwhile, Denver City Councilwoman Susan Shepard came out against the comedian by refusing to vote on whether to extend a contract held by AEG, the company promoting the concert, would be extended by the Denver City Council. Patty Calhoun from Westward, we've heard about this in city to city as Bill Cosby continues tour. Now he's in Denver. What do you think?
Well, we talked about free speech a lot last week, and Bill Cosby has a perfect right to come here if he wants to. AEG has a perfect right to continue with the shows even as the allegations come out. And everybody in Denver has a perfect right not to go see him. And I think that's probably what a lot of people will do. You know, he had a great career, and it's sad that it's ending this way. But I have to say, having talked to some of the people who've made these allegations, they sound pretty strong. I have to argue with Susan Shepard because you have to go about the business of the city whether or not somebody is bringing someone you don't want to see. And AEG not only has the contract where they get a certain rebate depending on how many things they book, but also just signed the big exclusive ticketing agency project with the city of Denver. So we have a lot of business with them. You have to take a position.
David Copel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. I think Patty brings a pretty good point. You have protesters, we've seen about that, but this was the first time, and it was noteworthy for us when we saw a Denver City Council person get involved, even to the extent that Susan Shepard did. What do you think?
I would agree with Patty that it was irresponsible for Councilwoman Shepard to vote against this entire agency providing services.
And officially she abstained, but yes,
okay,
I get what you're saying.
Just because she doesn't like one of the hundreds of entertainers that they bring through town. You know, on the allegations themselves, I haven't studied them carefully. I did study the Juanita Broderick accusations against Bill Clinton carefully, and it's certainly true in general that accusations have higher credibility when they're made contemporaneously rather than years later, but I thought Ms. Broderick's accusations were pretty strong and persuasive. So you can't rule out the possibility that these might be true, but again, I haven't looked at them in depth.
Ed Sealer from the Denver Business Journal. We haven't had a whole lot of controversial entertainment stuff coming through Colorado. We've had all the different protests for things else. What do you think of the reaction so far, both from people and from city council people?
Well, I mean, and let's remember, it wasn't just Susan Shepard. It was also Robin Kniech and Judy Montero that said they wanted to abstain on this vote as well. You know, but it sets a fairly dangerous precedent, as the staff explained to the city council that, you know, basically, here's a guy who hasn't been charged with any crime. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about this, but you can't say, well, you know, people are accusing you, so we're going to cut this show off with a contract you've already been signed. And in fact, it was a really interesting comment that Jeannie Robb made. Jeannie Robb, who voted for the contract, but said, you know, I don't like some of the other acts that are coming through here. I wish some of these rap acts wouldn't be booked at our theaters. You know, so if we start going down the road to you're being accused of something without being charged, we're going to cut your show, where do we draw the line? And then when does it get down to, well, the city council doesn't much like you, so find another city to play in.
Multimedia journalist Gloria Neal, also with our friends over at CBS4. A lot of talk and everything about from Bill Cosby nationally, locally, and what's going on here. What do you think?
Well, I think several things. Immediately as these allegations, you know, continue to come forward, I know when Beverly Johnson was in town, she had not come forward yet, but I interviewed her in regards to an award she was getting. But I did talk to her afterwards. And again, to Patty Calhoun's point, it sounds credible, sounds very believable. I'm reminded of an old Southern saying that everybody's not telling the same lie. All of these women don't know each other, but yet at the same time, we live in a society where it has not been proven. Bill Cosby has the right to come and do his thing and say what he says or wants to say, but we also have the right to not go. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. However, I will say this, as far as city council members abstaining, either vote for it or don't vote for it. Take a stand or don't.
Mm-hmm.